When you think of Albert Einstein, you probably picture the perfect genius.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
The iconic wild white hair, the gentle eyes, and of course E=mc squared on a blackboard.
We treat him like this untouchable scientific saint.
But what if that whole familiar image is just fundamentally wrong?
That's our mission today. We're going to look at the collected facts, the notes, the research, all the historical documents, and find the real Einstein.
The one who failed. The rebel, the, complicated husband, and the man who was haunted by what his theories unleashed.
That myth of instant genius is exactly what we need to challenge, because the reality, when you dig into the sources, is actually pretty shocking.
It really is. I mean, he was written off by his teachers, spent years completely jobless, and his first big ideas were so radical that the world just
Rejected them, flat out.
completely. And it's that struggle, that rejection, that's so fascinating. This deep dive is about understanding the failure and the curiosity that ultimately rewrote our reality.
And you have to stick with us until the end. We promise the greatest secret about Einstein, the thing that might explain how he thought, wasn't found until after he died. And the story is just bizarre.
So let's start at the beginning, with the boy who hated school, the rebellious learner.
The sources are really clear on this. Einstein was not a child prodigy, not in the way we think of one.
Not at all. He was actually delayed. He didn't even speak until he was 4 years old.
4, can you imagine? His parents were seriously worried that something was fundamentally wrong with him.
And when he finally got into the German school system, it was a terrible fit. It was so rigid, so militaristic.
All about rote memorization and just blind obedience.
And his teachers, they were quick to label him.
They called him too slow, too distracted, and my favorite, too challenging.
He wasn't slow, of course. He was just fundamentally opposed to how he was being taught. He saw it as a cage for his imagination.
He said it himself later, didn't he? Something like, school failed me.
School failed me. My teachers failed me. It wasn't a lack of intelligence. It was a powerful curiosity that just couldn't tolerate learning something because an authority figure said so.
While his classmates were just copying notes, he was off in his own world, probably imagining himself riding on a beam of light.
And that focus on these invisible forces, it really started with one specific moment. The origin story.
Right, the compass. His father gave him a simple pocket compass when he was 5.
And he was just mesmerized. No matter which way he turned it, that little needle always snapped back to point north.
And that led to the question that defined his entire life.
What invisible force is controlling this needle? I mean, what's happening just beneath the surface of reality that I can't see?
That one question launched a revolution, but revolutionaries don't always collect diplomas.
No, they don't. At 15, you just quit school in Munich, tried to skip the final years of high school entirely.
Which, of course, led to his first big academic failure.
He applied directly to the Swiss Polytechnic in Zurich, a top school, and he failed the entrance exam.
He failed it. But the way he failed was so weirdly telling.
It was. The committee saw this bizarre pattern. His marks in math and physics were exceptional, like off the charts.
But languages, history, botany, terrible. He just couldn't or wouldn't conform.
So they gave him a second chance. He went to a prep school for a year, and he finally passed. But even then, he was a headache for his professors,
He was always skipping lectures, arguing about the curriculum.
just constantly challenging them. One of his professors even told him, and this is a direct quote from the sources,
You will never amount to anything.
imagine being that professor. Imagine telling Albert Einstein he'll never amount to anything.
It just shows you the revolutionary genius often looks a lot like the problem student.
And that rejection didn't stop at graduation. Which brings us to him being completely and utterly jobless.
Right. After he graduates, he expects to get an academic job, but nothing.
Every single professor he applies to for an assistant position turns him down.
Because he'd spent his entire university career annoying every single person in a position of power. He burned all his bridges.
So the man who's about to redefine space and time spends 2 years just broke, unrecognized, and ignored.
That's a pretty serious low point.
It is. He finally gets a job through a friend's father. A really unglamorous job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern.
His official title just says it all.
Technical expert, 3rd class.
It sounds like a character in a Dickens novel or something.
It really does. But this boring, slow job turned out to be the perfect cover. It gave him an income, and more importantly, it gave him time.
Time to just think.
Exactly. And this is the setting for what becomes known as his secret years. A small, dim office, No lab, no research team, no funding.
Just a 26-year-old clerk looking at blueprints and, in his spare time, completely dismantling classical physics.
And the work he produced in just 1 year, 1905, is just staggering. They call it the Annus Mirabilis
The miracle year.
because he publishes 4 papers on his own, and each one is a bombshell,
We have to break these down. The first one was on the photoelectric effect.
which basically proved that light isn't just a wave, it also acts like little packets of energy. Quanta.
And that one idea, essentially launched quantum mechanics, the foundation of all modern physics.
Then, the second paper on Brownian motion. He mathematically proved that atoms and molecules are real. He finally silenced the skeptics.
Okay, so that's 2. Then you get to the big ones.
Special relativity and the most famous equation in history, E equals mc squared.
Where he argues that space and time aren't constant, they're linked, they're relative.
I mean, just put it in perspective. A 26-year-old patent clerk, a technical expert third class, takes on 200 years of Isaac Newton's physics.
And wins. With just a pen and paper.
It's just an incredible story of pure independent thought.
But that kind of success, it never brings a simple life, does it? This is where we get into the price of his genius, his messy personal life, and the moral weight he had to carry.
At first, his ideas were just met with confusion. The relativity paper was so abstract, so dense, that the sources say maybe 3 people in the world understood it.
So fame wasn't instant.
Not at all. The real catalyst was the solar eclipse in 1919.
Right, where scientists observed starlight bending around the sun,
Yeah.
just like he predicted. His theory was proven.
And the news just exploded. The headlines were things like, "A new genius has dethroned Newton." He became a global celebrity almost overnight.
But behind that celebrity image, his personal life was, well, it was really complex.
And we have to talk about his first wife, Mileva Maric. She was a brilliant physicist in her own right. They were intellectual partners.
But their relationship was also incredibly turbulent, and there's this heartbreaking mystery at the center of it.
Their first child, a daughter named Lesrel, who was born before they were married.
She just vanishes from history.
She does. The only mentions are in letters between them. The theories are that she either died of scarlet fever as a baby, or maybe.
She was given up for adoption.
We just don't know. It's this quiet, unresolved tragedy in the life of the man who mapped the universe.
That personal pain, though, was eventually overshadowed by this enormous global responsibility.
Einstein was a pacifist. He hated war, which makes his decision in 1939 so difficult.
As someone who had fled Europe, he knew what was happening in Nazi Germany.
And his fellow scientists, they convinced him to take a terrifying step.
He signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt.
In it, he warned that Germany might be trying to build an atomic bomb.
And that single letter basically pushed the United States to start the Manhattan Project.
Now, we have to be clear. Einstein did not build the bomb. He wasn't part of the project.
But his equation, E equals mc squared, that was the science that made it all possible.
The burden he carried for that was just immense. His reaction when he heard about the bombing of Hiroshima, it says everything.
If I had known, I would have burned my formula.
He felt that responsibility so deeply, even though his role was purely theoretical.
And he lived with that for the rest of his life, while his mind just never, ever stopped working.
Even in old age, he had one final, all-consuming quest.
For the last 30 years of his life, he worked on the unified field theory.
His ultimate goal. One single, elegant theory to explain everything. Gravity, electromagnetism, all of it.
He never solved it. He died chasing that dream. But scientists are still chasing it today.
And when he did pass away in 1955, something really shocking and bizarre happened.
The pathologist on call, a man named Thomas Harvey, secretly took Einstein's brain.
Just took it. Without any permission from his family, no one knew.
The world had no idea for decades that the most famous brain in history was basically sitting in jars in this guy's basement.
It's a huge breach of trust. He turned a scientific icon into a relic.
But when scientists finally got to study it, they found the secret.
And it wasn't the size. His brain was pretty average. It was the wiring, the architecture.
They found he had this incredible density of connections between brain cells, especially in the parts of the brain for visual thinking and math.
So that ability to do thought experiments, like imagining writing on a light beam, it was physically enhanced in his brain.
Which just brings it all full circle. His genius wasn't just inherited. It was shaped by a mind that literally rewired itself to connect ideas.
All driven by that curiosity. It really was his superpower. He said it best himself.
I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious.
That's the whole story right there.
So what does all this mean for you, for any of us? Einstein's story, it shows you don't need perfect grades or everyone's approval to change the world.
You don't need a fancy title. Remember, he was a technical expert, third class.
You just need to hold on to that spark of curiosity and have the courage to think differently, even if everyone tells you you're wrong.
At the end of the day, Einstein wasn't a man of answers. He was a man of questions. And those questions, born from a simple compass, changed everything.
So think about your own world, your own field. What are the fundamental rules you just take for granted?
What's the one obvious question that maybe, just maybe, you should be asking right now?
Something to think about until our next deep dive.